Week 3 waiver wire. Let's get it started. Do you have questions at quarterback? Don't worry, I got you. Baker Mayfield, still only rostered in less than 50% of leagues. How, Sway? He's been a top 5 quarterback in back-to-back weeks. Quarterback 2 last week, quarterback 4 this week. Let's go. And he faces the Denver Broncos. Ain't nobody worry about that. Next, we have Derek Carr. He's finished top 6 in back-to-back weeks, and the only reason he finished 6 was he didn't have to play at the end of the game when he went against the terrible Panthers. But when he dominated the Dallas Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? Back to regularly scheduled programming. After he beat up on them Cowboys, quarterback 2. Now he gets to face the Philadelphia Eagles. They just lost a terrible game. They had that game in the bag. If Derek Carr can go in there and get a win, that's going to be wild. But win, lose, or draw, he going to be slinging it because the Eagles are coming to play. Fire up your Derek Carrs. Last is Geno Smith. I like him, just not as much as the first two. I think he has a good game. He goes up against the Miami Dolphins, who don't really scare you. Plus, Tua may or may not play. Probably not. I think the Seahawks are going to win this game, and Geno's going to throw a touchdown or 2. If you're in the Geno range, I think he's going to be all right. Moving on to the running back position. Are you having a rough time at running back? Don't worry, I got you. Okay, so a lot of these ads have to do with injuries. According to Adam Schefter, Isaiah Pacheco is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. That's a long time. Kareem Hunt is scheduled for a visit on Tuesday. If they sign Kareem Hunt and he's that dude for the Kansas City Chiefs, that's a hell of a grab. But to be clear, we don't know if he's going to be signed yet. Personally, I picked him up in about 4 leagues. If you can pick him up, I recommend doing it before he gets into waivers because he's not on a team yet. So if you can grab him, I would grab him. He's like a pre-waiver waiver. I made a video about it, so check it out. The other running backs to look at in this backfield, Carson Steele, who I'm not really excited about. I mean, how could I be? He's had 9 total attempts, totaling 27 yards. Samaje Perine, who's had literally 0 carries, just targets, so he'd be the 3rd down back. Keep in mind, there's a world where the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs is very valuable, but there's also a world where they just split it and they're all kind of just okay. Now that the Chiefs situation's been explained, let's talk about some people I'm excited about. Braylon Allen. What? He was incredible this week. Available in 91% of leagues, 4 targets, ended up with 2 touchdowns. Now, he's not crazy involved, but they're using him in the passing game and in the running game. I think he's definitely worth an ad. He's not taking over Breece Hall's role, obviously. But I definitely think he has some value. 2 touchdowns, I don't see that every week, of course, but he's a great handcuff, and he could be a solid spot start. Cam Akers is a solid speculative ad, considering the fact that Joe Mixon got banged up. Apparently, Joe Mixon's injury isn't considered long-term or serious. Feel like that's what I heard about Christian McCaffrey. Still think Cam Akers is worth a grab. I like Rico Dowdle. He had 5 targets last week. Love to see that. He's fighting with Zeke, and Zeke isn't looking great right now. He had 1 more carry and almost twice the amount of yards. Rico's worth a grab. Now I'm going to rattle off some running backs that if you need somebody, I think they're worth being rostered. Bucky Irving. Rashad White got a little banged up. Bucky Irving would be the guy if he missed time. Ty Chandler actually looked pretty good. 10 carries, 80-plus yards, worth a spot. Tyler Allgeier's a great handcuff for one of the best running backs in the league. Deontay Foreman got twice as many carries as Jerome Ford. Not quite sure why that happened. Worth a grab. 14 carries. Not too shabby. Can't believe I'm saying this. Antonio Gibson on the New England Patriots. I can't remember the last time I've seen him look this good. 11 carries for 96 yards. Wow. Worth a roster grab, just in case. Moving on to wide receivers. Are you weak at wide receiver? Don't worry, I got you. There's a lot of players on this list. Strap in. With Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua going down for who knows how long, there's a bunch of receivers you need to know about. Starting off with Demarcus Robinson. Barely rostered, 7 targets week 1, 4 targets week 2. Week 2 got kind of out of hand, so they kind of pulled it a little early. Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, and Tyler Johnson, all solid flyers for the Rams. One of these 4 guys will pop. I'm starting off with Demarcus Robinson. Honestly, you could probably get the other guys for free. Andrei Iosivas, could be saying that wrong. I like him as an ad. Yes, he only had 4 targets and 7 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. He plays with Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins is hurt. How much is that really hurt, and how much is that he's playing on a franchise tag and doesn't want to actually get hurt any further? I don't know. I definitely think that Yoshi's worth an ad. Darnell Mooney popped off tonight. Long touchdown reception. It looked like he was getting involved towards the end of that game. They need someone else to pop off that's not Drake London, and Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts. I think Darnell Mooney might be an involved part of this offense. Raheem Shaheed did it again. My man had 90-plus yards and a touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys. That's amazing. About 50% rostered. If you need upside, pick this man up. I'm more confident in Rashid than this next guy, but he still has crazy upside. Alec Pierce, back-to-back games with a touchdown. This week he had 7 targets. I was surprised how many targets he had. I think he's worth the roster spot. Not really confident in Anthony Richardson, throwing at least. But when he slings it to this guy. Now, be warned, Joshua Downs should be coming back at some point, so I'm not sure how much work he takes from him. But I think Pierce is pretty good. Wide receiver 8 on the year. Side note, Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver 9 on the year. I hate this offense, don't like this player, but Jerry Jeudy looked pretty good. 8 targets week 1, 6 targets week 2, had a touchdown in week 1. I think that he's worth the roster spot. This is gross, but his teammate Elijah Moore also was getting a strange amount of targets. Tied for team lead with 8 targets. Not in love with either of these guys, but he's getting the targets. And I don't like the offense, but some of y'all are desperate out there. I'm still not convinced I like him in fantasy football, but he scored 2 touchdowns last week. What am I supposed to do? Add him, but I don't trust him. He plays Pittsburgh next week. Are you confident that they're going to be throwing much against Pittsburgh? I don't know. Most of the games Pittsburgh's been in, it's been a field goal affair. The Chargers don't want to even throw the ball. They want to run it. But Quentin Johnson looks like they're trying to make him a thing. Harbaugh's trying to make fetch a thing. Stop trying to make fetch work. I think that's what it is. Anyways, worth the roster spot. I'm not throwing him in my starting lineup at the moment, but I'm also not as brave as some of y'all. Jalen Tolbert wasn't involved almost at all in week 1. Week 2, my man had 9 targets. Let's go. He caught 6 of those for over 80 yards. That's what's up. He does have a tough matchup in Baltimore, but Dallas needs somewhere else to throw the ball. And with Ferguson down, who may come back, there's a world where he gets involved. 9 targets is a lot of targets. And Brandon Cooks isn't as young as he used to be, though he is always a touchdown threat. And with that running game looking as bad as it looks, they're going to be running through the air. Players are dropping like flies. Deebo Samuel's banged up. Not sure how much time he's going to miss. Juwan Jennings, next man up? Probably. CMC out on IR. Deebo banged up. They're going to have to throw it somewhere. Brandon Ayuk can only get so many targets. They're going to have to go somewhere else. Juwan Jennings, probably going to get some love. Worth a stash. Are you having a tough time at tight end? Don't worry. I got you. Hunter Henry. Henry does this. He has crazy blow-up games, and he disappears sometimes. But, dare I say, this situation is slightly different? He had 12 targets, 8 receptions for 109 yards. Is he going to do that on a regular basis? No. That's outrageous. What is he? Old school Travis Kelce? But, who's the number 1 on this team? Jalen Polk scored a touchdown, but he didn't have very much production at all after that. Other than that. He led the team in targets by a wide margin. The second most targets went to Ramondre Stevenson with 5. Just to be clear, Henry had 12. I don't know if this continues, but the Patriots don't have many options, so I think he stays involved. 100 yards? Nah. Involved? Yes. Mike Gesicki was doing work. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 91 yards. You need a tight end. He's on a high-powered offense, and clearly, Joe Burrow likes him. Zach Ertz has a solid floor. Only getting like 4 targets a game, but turn that into like 50, 60 yards. As long as Jake Ferguson's out, I think Luke Schoonmaker will be viable. He went 6 for 6 this week. That's pretty solid. Moving on to defenses. Are you desperate for a defense? Don't worry, I got you. The Las Vegas Raiders. This was a much better pick a few hours ago. Bryce Young has been benched. Wow. Second game of the year, your first overall pick. Just now starting to use his new weapons. Now, just be clear, he was terrible. Long term, I hope you didn't break the kid. Anyways, back to regularly scheduled programming. Like I said, Raiders was a fantastic pick. Whoever's going up against the Panthers, you play them. I still think you can play them. Andy Dalton is much better than Bryce Young, which I don't know why you wouldn't just keep starting Bryce Young. You clearly want a new quarterback. Play him. He sucks all year. You get a better draft pick. Whatever. Andy Dalton's going to be better. But the Raiders are actually a pretty good defense. They were okay against Lamar Jackson. Andy Dalton's a lot less mobile. Next, the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins most likely won't have Tua. If you don't have Tua, it's going to be tough to get it to the weapons. I believe they just signed Tyler Huntley. Don't think he's going to be up on the playbook. So either they're starting him or they're starting Skylar Thompson. Neither one worried about. Seattle defense should do some work. And they're at home, which means whoever they're playing has to travel to the Northwest. That's across the country, baby. That kind of stuff does matter. My Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the terrible Denver Broncos. Regardless of what happens in this game, they won't score a lot of points. They're not a very good team. Denver's also on the road, traveling across the country. Less across the country, but still across the country. Don't got to play in Mile High. Love that. They're going to have to play in that Florida heat. And lastly and sadly, the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Chicago Bears. Oh, man. I've been rooting for Caleb Williams, but that offensive line has been terrible. There's only so many times you can get blitzed, rushed, and tackled before you start getting a little skittish. I think much better days are to come, but until they figure out that offensive line problem and get some of their pieces back, healthy Roma Doomsday, Keenan Allen, who's going to give you those quick, easy passes. Keenan's a good separator. I think he's going to make a big difference in this offense, but they're going to take some time to gel. This is week 3. They're not gelling that fast. Start your Colts. Oh, man. It's week 3. There's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of injuries, a lot of people popping out of nowhere. Me crushing Pick'em last week. So I got a lot of videos coming to you. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to try to make some more videos talking about more of my opinions on the NFL, different things that are happening. Let me know if there's any topics you want me to cover. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and that notification bell down below. If you have any questions, hit me up. Good luck on the wire. I'll see you soon, Bet Nation. Peace.